Hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. That's not in the right order, but we're back with more stuff.
Media chat.
Brad over here.
Hi.
And Kelley right here from Cooper-Siegel. So today we're talking about memoirs, biographies, and biopics, which just happened to be my very favorite genre. So I had to weed down a huge list of things I'd love to recommend to just a handful. So it was very challenging.
Yeah. I've noticed I've read a lot of those too. A lot of biographies, a lot of memoirs.
Yeah.
A
It's
lot
a
of
good
music
genre.
ones, which I'm probably going to focus on today because they're
Nice.
some of my
Okay.
favorite ones.
I don't read. I have a music biopic. I have two music biopics actually, but I don't have any ones. I don't generally read them, I guess. I don't have too many that I read.
Yeah.
Ones. So
they're always interesting to read.
Yeah.
Fun to read.
Do you want to start?
Sure.
Okay.
My first one that I'm recommending, is called Trouble Boys, The True Story of the Replacements. So they're like, it's by Bob Mayer, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
They're a band that's from, here's the thing, like I was never a huge, like into them really that much. I mean, I knew some of their songs, but this book had some high recommendations, so I thought I'd read it because
And they're local, right?
No, they're actually from Minneapolis.
Why did I think that? That's not local at all.
No.
Why did I think that? I don't know.
I don't know.
I have no idea why I thought that.
It's kind of, maybe someone else has a name similar around here. I don't know.
I know of them. I don't know why I always thought they were from here. Okay, go ahead. So they're from Minneapolis.
That's cool. I mean, well, they're kind of like that working class dudes. I mean, they'd probably fit in Pittsburgh too.
Sure, yeah.
They're kind of like the band that was always like on the cusp of making it big.
Okay.
Like in the 1980s, they were sort of like, and then they would kind of like sabotage themselves basically with like drinking and stupid decisions. And
so it's probably like a juicy story of all kinds.
It is, but it's also sad in a lot of ways. Like one of the guys was like had a hard life. He passed away like in the 90s, and just like the fact that they could never like make it was sort of like a thing that like weighed them down.
Tragedy, yeah.
And there's also a lot of funny. I mean, it's just like an interesting story about these guys. Like,
is it short, long?
No, medium? It's long. I mean, it's 500 pages.
A big tome about the Replacements. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, it basically like traces their whole career,
yeah,
like some of their childhood, like how they got started.
Yeah.
So
that sounds good.
It kind of it was just a really interesting read. Like even if you're not really into their music, it's kind of like interesting, and there's a lot of on how like kind of the music business then works, and kind of like like the line between like wanting to make it but actually wanting to make it, like maybe they sabotaged it themselves, like maybe they just didn't have the confidence, who knows. But they're kind of like one of those cult following bands that I think now they're probably more popular than they were then.
That's so sad when that happens, because they needed to be popular before now. Okay, so are you done? Sorry.
Yeah, it's just there's a lot of those like stupid things that like people in bands do.
Oh yeah.
Stories too.
Those are fun to read about.
But I mean, nothing like criminal. Just they didn't make the best decisions. Let's put it that way.
But okay, so I am going to recommend a great memoir called Heavy, an American memoir, and it's by a great guy named Kiese Lehman, who I'd never heard of, but this book. Oh, I should have looked up when it was published. It was probably just in the last 3 years, and it got a lot of attention. So I just was like, oh, this looks good. And it's one of the best books I've ever read, of any genre. I'm going to read my like very small Goodreads review that I wrote. One of the best books I've ever read. Great. I'm actually rereading it right away. I finished it and I started it again. It was that good. And I may even buy a copy, which I haven't done yet, but I should. because I desperately need to highlight, underline, and make notes in the margins. This book has so much to teach us, and I have so much to learn. So that was February 2019. So I think, the book may have come out in 2018 or something, but it's beautiful and heartbreaking and tragic, and just a young Black man growing up in America and all that is part of that. So yeah, that was a good one. Okay, you're up. What's next?
I'm going back to the music one.
Okay.
And this is actually, I don't know if one of the best books I read, but probably one of the best biographies I read, and it was Life by Keith Richards. It's an autobiography.
Was that
The Rolling
Toby?
Stones. Huh, I'm sorry. Yes,
Was
that
that
was
Toby?
He's fired up chasing our other cat.
He's doing stuff. Okay. Okay, sorry. Say that again. What the title?
It's
called
Life, by Keith Richards. It's an autobiography. The guitar player and one of the songwriters from the Rolling Stones. Now this is kind of like an epic book. It's pretty long, and it's
so
like
this is another like tome of a story.
Yeah, well, I mean, and I listened to the audiobook too, which was mostly read by Johnny Depp, which doing Keith Richards, which was also very entertaining. Which is basically like Captain Jack Sparrow, but Keith Richards.
Okay.
Yeah, but anyway, so it's partly, I mean, it is like a biography about his life and the Rolling Stones and how he got involved in music and like all the stuff that they did and all the trouble they got in with the law and drugs and all that stuff. But it's also like he has like weird philosophy on things.
Okay.
And
like
it's
weird,
just,
like Ted Nugent, or not that weird?
No,
Okay.
he's definitely not like it's not
on a scale of
he's not a
1 to
political asshole. Yeah.
On a scale of 1 to Ted Nugent, where is he? Like a 4?
No, not Ted Nugent. It's more like like just about living and like his like longevity in music and just like how and it's just like some of it's funny. Like he's like a weird, like a street tough British dude. You know what I mean? Like growing up.
When did you read
like,
this one? Did you read it recently or?
No, it was when it came out. I think that was like maybe like almost 10 years ago now.
Okay, yeah. And
I
is
want to say
still alive.
2011.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay.
He had just turned 70 when this book came out, so he's pushing 80 at this point. They're actually going to do another tour this year, which is crazy.
Oh my gosh, I'm 46 and I feel like I couldn't do a tour. I feel like I couldn't even do one night. It's got to be exhausting. Yeah.
I mean, of course, there's a lot of like controversies that, you know, with him and like the Brian Jones guy that died in the Rolling Stones, like that he kind of just like glosses over, or like in his relationship with like Mick Jagger, like he talks about, and there's a lot of interesting stuff in there. But I mean, I don't think they don't. I don't know if he
maybe there's another book for that stuff. You know.
Yeah. But it's just like his philosophies are really interesting. It just I mean, I don't know if I follow any, but he just seems like kind of like a normal guy in a lot of ways, despite being a super famous
guy. Right. Okay. Yeah. The next one I'm going to do, the next two are actually graphic novels. Maybe I'll talk about them both at the same time, but one is called Fun Home, a Tragic Comic by Alison Bechtel. And we read this in my book club. Do you know that one? Yeah. It's a graphic novel and it's a memoir. So if you're not a graphic novel fan, and this could be a really good kind of entry into graphic novels, because people think it's like all Spider-Man and superheroes and Thor, but it is really so many great books and stories. And this is a good one. But it's about in college, she came out as a lesbian and then discovered that her father was gay as well. And I think, so it's a juicy story, like family kind of drama. It became a Broadway play musical.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So, and I think it did pretty well on Broadway. I don't know if it's still running, but so I highly recommend that one. It's really moving. And again, like a lot of just family dynamics that are interesting. And then the next one is also a graphic novel, also a good one to just break into the graphic novel genre with. It's called The Best We Could Do, and it's by T. Bowie, and it's about a family that moves from Vietnam to America a little bit during and right after the war. And just I think I have a very short review. Yeah, it's only a few lines long. A different and more intimate story of Vietnam. I've read a lot of Vietnam stuff, and so it was a really enlightening story, and a revealing portrait of the complicated mother-daughter relationship. So both of those are really kind of family things, but two very different stories. So I highly recommend those.
That's
Okay.
cool. Like, I like both of those.
Yeah.
And I do think biography or like memoirs or autobiography, graphic novels, or they're always interesting because you get to see like their interpretation of the events drawn. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is, because you're right. They are choosing really specifically like what perspective and angle, and there
Yeah.
could be just like a sun and whatever. Yeah, you're right. It gives like a whole nother dimension to the book, to the story.
And it's like if you're not really into, like you were saying, like the bam pow explosions and superhero stuff,
Right,
like
which
it's kind of
I'm
like the
not.
art's a little like different. And
Hmm.
um yeah, I think I read both of those when we first got them. I thought they were
Nice.
really not
Okay,
interesting.
yeah.
Yeah,
There were
cool.
like four more memoir graphic novels that I wanted to recommend, but I was like, I can't. I have to limit it. So
Well, when the library reopens for curbside, we do have a lot of those. So
we do.
yes,
We do. We have some. Yeah, and I think we have all the other ones that I was going to recommend too. So.
yeah, we have the two first ones that I recommended.
Hmm.
So
Cool. Okay, your
uh,
turn. You're up. What's next?
the last one is a book I read on the plane last summer. This time
Okay.
back from Scotland.
That was a
Uh,
whole different time.
yeah,
Yeah, summer
right.
at this time.
I think that's actually like a year ago now.
Oh
But
wow.
it's called The Hard Stuff. Um, it's another music. It's by this guy Wayne Kramer. He was in this like another band that was like on the cusp of making it in the late '60s, the MC5.
Never heard
Um,
of them.
they're like their history is very very interesting, and he was kind of like basically they're from Detroit. They became involved. Like they got this band together, and they were sort of like the house band for this like radical party called the White Panther Party, which was
Okay.
the white offshoot of the Black Panther Party, like a
Oh
white
yeah, that
ally of them.
doesn't sound. Oh, an
Like,
ally.
and they're
Okay.
a white, yeah, they're like a
Okay.
white ally of the Black Panther Party. I mean, the Black
Okay.
Panther Party in Detroit like recognized them
Yeah. Okay.
as and they were also like hardcore like communists kind of things.
All right.
So they kind of started this band, and they're actually like one of the first. I mean, they kind of like started punk as like a genre.
Oh,
It
okay.
wasn't really called that at the time, but
Yeah.
so they had like one album. Their big song's called "Kick Out the Jams." You might have heard it.
Kick
I don't
out
know.
the jams.
Yeah, it was
Nice.
like
It
recorded
sounds more
live.
like 90s hip hop, but okay.
Yeah, it's um, but it starts out with like he's again like they didn't make it like and it's about his struggle through the rest of his career to try to
Yeah.
like have his own career, but he also like had to go to jail for a really long
Hmm.
time. So there's a lot about that, and he actually like because he sold drugs
Yeah.
basically as like because he didn't have any income, and it's sort of you can see like the like one of his quotes in the book to like with Keith Richards, he's like, yeah, Keith Richards can do all these drugs and live because he like could get the best drugs.
They're all
Like people I
pure.
know that died, they were doing like street drugs. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, that were
but
mixed with
anyway, so he
something.
reforms and he starts like this organization that brings music instruments into jails
Oh,
so
very
people
cool.
can like learn how to play.
Hmm.
And he sort of taught that, and then he
Like
kind of
music therapy. Yeah.
yeah, but and it also talks about like his like journey to sobriety, like
Hmm.
and it's kind of it's dark, but it's also kind of uplifting. Like this guy sort of like got fought his demons and sort of
Yeah.
won, and now
Finds
he's
his
like
way. Yeah.
kind of like they that same year or 2017 they did 2018 I guess they did the 50-year reunion tour.
Okay.
But he's like the only one left, so it was a bunch of like special guests.
Oh,
So
all
it's like
right.
a bunch of cool people like I don't know, Kim Thale from Soundgarden was in the
Hmm.
band.
Hmm.
um so it was they actually played in Pittsburgh and I went. It was really cool.
Oh,
So
nice. Where'd they play?
um Mr. Smalls.
Okay.
So it's kind of like his a redemption tale in a lot of ways, but he also
Hmm.
a lot of made mistakes and he was kind of honest about them.
Hmm.
And it's like he did do a lot of like crappy things to people,
Yeah.
but
I feel like that's what makes a really good memoir.
yeah,
If, people are like, wow,
they're
here's
real. They
my,
made mistakes.
right, here's my incredibly rocky, twisty, windy journey. And here's kind of where I came out at the other side,
And
having
the cool
learned a lot.
and the cool thing about it is like he also talks a lot about race issues. Like
Mhm.
I mean, and the same issues that were happening in Detroit are like what's happening now in like
Right.
1968,
It's
and
like
it's
50
like
years ago. Yeah.
yeah, and things haven't changed. And
Right.
you can also see like with Life and Keith Richards, these are guys coming up at the same time,
Hmm.
and like the difference in their lives are like
Yeah.
so it's like most people don't become Keith Richards. I like to hear about the other
Yeah.
people and how they like survive.
The non-Keith Richards.
Yeah.
Yeah. That sounds good. I have one more memoir, and then we can, if you want to move on to biopics.
Sure.
So this one, oh, so good. It was called Stranger in the Woods, The Extraordinary Story of the Last True Hermit by Michael Finkel.
Okay.
And this guy in 1986, his name's Christopher Rhodes, I think. It doesn't matter. In 1986, he just kind of walked out of his life, and he didn't speak to another soul and wasn't discovered for 27 years.
Wow.
And he lived alone, undiscovered, in Maine, in the woods of Maine. He was discovered because he had started to kind of, in a kind of semi-ethical way, like kind of break into this camp to get some food and supplies, never hurting anyone or anything. And only, I think he had some like ethical ways that he felt like he could borrow or steal or whatever. But it's a fascinating story. Like I think so again, I'll read my little review that I wrote. Fascinating, riveting, I love survival stories of all kinds. So another survival story under my belt. It really challenged my ideas about loneliness, freedom, the notion of normal, quote unquote, and the value of connection. As an increasingly solitary gal, that's myself, Christopher Knight, that was his name. Knight's story was very beguiling. I just, it really challenged what we think of as like a neurotypical person, and what neurotypical people, what they should want in their lives and how they should live their lives. And it was really a profound story. So
that's
highly
cool.
recommend
Like,
it. Yeah.
after he got discovered, what happened?
So I knew you were going to ask that. I knew people would want to know.
I mean, I don't want to give it away.
No, I know. I was just like, oh my gosh, I don't remember exactly how it ends. I mean, he's very unhappy and very, very unsettled and very uncomfortable when he's discovered. And obviously they put him into jail and because for the stealing part, I guess. But I think he eventually does figure things out. I wouldn't want to ruin the ending, but I think he was probably really sad to have lost that life for himself. So and other than the stealing, I feel like he could have or should have been allowed to go back to it. So it's interesting. So okay, so biopics. So these are just like movies about true or real people. I have 4.
Go ahead. You gonna go first on that one?
Okay. I don't know if I can get through all of them, so I will pick there's 2 that I definitely want to talk about, and then 2 that are just amazing and I'd love to talk about. So first one, since you've been talking about music, is Love and Mercy. Do you know that movie?
I do, yeah.
It's about Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys.
Yes.
With John Cusack and Paul Dano, and they're phenomenal. It was a movie I didn't know much about. I didn't know much about the Beach Boys or Brian Wilson. So I kind of went into it like, oh, this looks interesting. I was blown away. I mean, the story is so interesting. I guess Brian Wilson really battles some mental illness, and when he's creating Pet Sounds, which I did all this research on after that because I didn't know a lot about that. It's considered like one of the greatest albums of all time.
Yes, and it is a great album, by the way.
I couldn't really get into it, but I feel like I need to give it some time. But then he was under like the thumb of a therapist who really kind of abused his power over Brian. So really interesting story.
That's interesting. I didn't know about his therapist. I knew his dad was kind of like he controlled that whole Beach Boys band sort of. Like in fact, I was going to bring that up. I read there's this series of books called 33 and a Half. I don't know if you've ever read them.
No.
They're these small books. They have them. The only place I found them is at CLP, but they're very thin, but they're about classic albums, like the making of classic albums and like around like what happens around it. And Pet Sounds was one of them that I read. And it was really like interesting. Like he's sort of like a weird genius, the way he can like hear things.
And it did so badly when it was out, but now it's because
it was such like a change. And like, I guess a lot of the Beach Boys didn't even like it, especially that one guy wears the hat all the time. Like,
they were
that's another story.
Yeah. Okay. So what's one of your biopics?
Hold on. Let me, sorry. I had
That's
some
fine.
stuff written down here.
I know I have my notes on my phone and on my, on
Well,
actual paper.
the first one the main one I was going to talk about and that I've seen recently that I thought was really good and is kind of topical is Straight Outta Compton.
Okay, I've never
Um,
seen that.
it first of all, like the story of NWA,
Yeah.
Dr. Dre, like Ice Cube. It's first of all the guy who plays Eazy-E should have won an
Mhm.
Oscar. Like his performance is amazing.
Mhm.
Um, and it's just about that band coming together, that rap group, and like all the controversy that surrounds them and still does,
Mhm.
but kind of like where they came from, like their goals, and like then kind of how like the music industry manipulated them.
Mhm.
Um, and also like some personal stuff, like Eazy-E he had AIDS, and like sort of his struggle with
Okay.
that, which
Okay.
is like really powerful,
Mhm.
I thought. And also their struggles with the police, like
Sure.
them, um, they were just like hanging out in front of their studio one day and just got arrested, like thrown on the ground. And
It
that's
was
where
hanging
like
out while
the
black, right?
F the Police song came
Mhm.
from, because
Mhm.
they were just like beaten for no reason, just hanging out on
Oh
a
man.
corner in front of a
That's rough.
music studio.
So very topical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and the acting in it is really good. Also,
Mhm.
Ice Cube's son plays Ice Cube.
Okay.
And it's like, I thought it was Ice Cube. I'm like, how did they make him so young? But it's just his
It's
son.
his
Like,
son. That's how they
they
did
look
it.
a lot, and like he did a great job of playing it. So like, I don't know. I mean, you don't have to be into that style of music at all to really
Yeah.
enjoy this movie.
Yeah.
Just like
It's just a good movie.
they make it very human. Like these are just
Mhm.
like guys that had a dream, and
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm adding it to my list because I was when I was looking at like some of the best biopics, that comes up as one of the best ones.
yeah, it does. It was really
So,
good, and
yeah.
um, yeah, I think it's something that people should watch, despite however you feel about it.
Yeah, it would be a way to expand your perspective.
And
Um,
then you got another one? Go
I
ahead.
have one more. When They See Us by
Okay.
Ava DuVernay.
I
She
don't know
was the
about.
director. So it's about the exonerated five from the Central Park, that kind of
Right.
attack in
Yes.
Central Park. And it was phenomenal. It's in four parts, and there's one part that is mostly about one of the kids, and I felt broken after watching it.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it should be required viewing for
Okay.
everyone. It was that good. It's just a again, a compelling story about police and how those kids were really framed, and it's a rough story. And I also Oprah did a whole, I think, hour maybe long kind of presentation with the people in the movie, and with the real people that it was based on, and that was really compelling as well. So that's a good
Mm-hmm.
one. All right, you're up. And then I guess we're done, which, oh, I have so many more. Okay, go ahead.
I know, right? And here's
Maybe
another
we
one.
should do part two.
Yeah, maybe we should.
Okay.
We were talking sort of about like movies that are diverse, and well, you're talking about sad, but it's Hotel Rwanda, which is
Oh
like
yeah,
one of the most powerful,
that's
depressing,
the
sad,
genocide
broken
in
movie. Yeah, in Africa.
yeah.
Um, and just like the way that Europe treats Africa, and so does in a lot of
Right.
ways, through like the diamond,
Yeah.
even like the diamond industry, and just like
Hmm.
it's depressing and
And what's
sad.
his name? Cheadle.
Yeah, Don Cheadle.
Don Cheadle is, and he's so good. He's such a.
Yeah,
I feel like he's a really underutilized actor.
yeah.
Yeah, he's
Like I
like.
feel like he should be in more
Yeah, I feel like he
things.
is still gonna find his like Oscar at some point. But
Yeah,
yeah,
and
that's a
so
good one.
I found that. I mean, that's just one that I was thinking of when you were
Hmm.
mentioning that, and
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's another thing that now might be a good time to rewatch that. I mean,
Hmm.
it's. Let me see. I think I know it. I have it listed here. Yeah, 2004. So
Wow, 16 years ago.
yeah,
Look how fast I did that math. Okay, so
but then
16
again,
years
it's
ago.
like, I mean, these issues keep coming up,
Yeah, I was gonna say
and
it's not out of date,
it's like, at
right?
what point are they going to get dealt with? And
Yeah,
hopefully, maybe now.
I hope so.
Hopefully,
Well, that's a good hopeful note to end on. We will probably have a part two because I think both of us have more on this
yeah.
to talk
I,
about. I definitely had two more. I had way more memoirs and then a few more biopics. So we'll have
Yeah,
part 2.
I was just trying to like remember some of the ones I've read
Oh, I
recently,
know.
and I'm
Thank
like,
goodness
oh,
for
there's that
Goodreads.
one, there's that
Yeah,
one.
right.
Yeah.
If I didn't have Goodreads, I'd forget everything I read. Okay, so thanks, guys. We'll
Thank
see
you.
you next week. I don't remember what our theme is for next week, but we'll be here.
Is Sarah on next week? Is it the sci-fi one next
I'm
week?
not sure. We're gonna try to
Okay.
bring Sarah on for sci-fi. We were supposed to have her this week, but
Yeah.
she's otherwise occupied. But we'll get her this summer. So
Yeah.
yeah. All right. Bye.
Bye.